Hi everyone, this is another recap video, recapping another great week. Standardized assessment was the topic that we talked about. We looked into what everyone's different state assessments and the accommodations that are provided to our students. I really enjoy looking at everyone's initial posts. So here's your reminder. The expectations for the discussion board are: first, you must have your initial post entered by Friday. So Friday posting is great, Saturday not so good. Starting this upcoming week, I'll have to take points off for late posts. Also remember, it's a discussion, so we want to make sure that we're reviewing our classmates' discussion posts and adding to the discussion. So that means, adding, checking multiple days, and having 2 to 3 initial posts, response posts. That's the word I'm looking for. Otherwise, otherwise it was really a great week. So some of the things we talked about, let me see on my list. Universal accommodations. I'm really glad that a few of you brought up universal accommodations. So that means that the electronic assessment that your state uses has accommodations built in. And for our kids, sometimes, that's screen enlargement software is the biggest one that I've had issues with. And like maybe you saw in my post, I had a administrator tell me, oh, well, don't worry about having your student use their screen enlarging software because that is universal for everyone. Everyone can do that. And I thought, oh, great, naive me. I thought, fantastic. One less thing you have to worry about. However, the icon was a tiny, tiny, tiny little magnifying glass that my kid could not find. And so the one thing you have to really look for and then make sure that you have figured out those universal accommodations and if they're still accessible to your student. And if they're something that you have to teach to use, I would almost advise having your student use the accommodation that they already know, they're already successful with. Does that make sense? So if they're already using screen reading software, have them continue to use that. See if that's accessible with the electronic programming. Otherwise, you might need to write other accommodations into their IEP, like having a person read out to them. Which is an accommodation that's possible as long as it's not a reading assessment. Let's see. Another really important point that came up is that you need to really have great assessments in place so that you know what accommodations your student needs. It's not okay to just kind of blindly check the boxes in the IEP and say they need this, 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 and this. You need to make sure that those are accommodations that they need and that all of the accommodations they need to be successful on that test are provided to them. Teaching to the test was another thing that came up, and I have mixed feelings about teaching to the test, and I'll tell you why. Teaching to the test, it sounds so awful, right? Like, oh, we're not actually teaching content. We're just teaching a kid how to do well on a test. That's true. On the other hand, we live in a culture that tests for everything. And if we want our students to be successful, all of our students, they need to know how to do well on a test. And so if we're teaching a kid and they know every single Braille contraction there is, and they're wonderful writers, and they, can use the abacus and are, fantastically motivated, but we didn't teach them the accommodations needed to score well on the SAT or the ACT, and they don't get into the college of their choice, that's our fault. That's our fault. So we need to make sure that not only are they able to use the technology like JAWS, and other screen reading software, that they're able to use enlargement software if that's what they need. If they need, what other kind of technology, that they're able to use that efficiently and effectively and in a timely manner to score well on tests, right? So there's no point in us trying to make this kid college bound if they're not going to do well within a college environment. I mean, I think, I don't know if it's this class or the O&M class, but there's a quiz, right? And so if you were visually impaired, you would need to know how to use the accommodations. You would need to know how to make that accessible to you, right? So we need to make sure that we're providing that kind of instruction to our students. So yes, we do really need to teach to the test, because that's the culture we live in. We live in a very test heavy environment. Let's see, what's my other point? Oh, opting out. Opting out was interesting. I wasn't expecting that to come up, but I've had some experience with opting out. As a parent, I have 4 kids, right? 3 are in school. I've had other parents come up to me and say, you can opt out of that. That testing goes on all day long, blah, 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 blah. And I thought, oh, yeah, it's very stressful on a kid. I've had, my daughters they have a lot of anxiety. And so every time, the test time in April comes around, they're like, oh, Mr. So-and-so and Mrs. So-and-so says that I really need to, have a good breakfast and do well on this test. And they get stressed out that I thought maybe I should opt them out. That I've also had teachers tell me, oh, don't opt them out. I had a teacher specifically ask me not to opt my daughter out. She's gifted and talented, and it occurred to me later that she probably made his scores look better. And in teaching, I've seen that too. I had a Braille reader. I was helping with a Braille reader at a school, and it was kind of, the principal didn't flat out say, hey, don't have people opt out, but it was like, don't tell them to opt it out, because it doesn't really look great to the school. The school needs the numbers, at least in Colorado. I'm in Colorado. And so if we have all these parents opting out, and then there was, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name at the moment, but you brought up that it's mostly affluent white people. I can completely understand that, because you need to know your rights, and I think that there's people of privilege are really the ones who have that kind of ability to figure out the system and have the confidence to confront it. So, wow, I thought that was really great that you went through the trouble and looked that information up. So I really appreciated that. Again, great discussion, and I look forward to next week. Bye.